President and CEO of the Central Maryland Chamber. Thank you so much for being with us this morning and joining us for our webinar on virtual networking with Jim Reese. We're looking forward to a great program today. The Chamber has been having a series of educational events that have been recorded, and they're accessible for free right on our website, which is www.centralmarylandchamber.org. While you're there, you can also sign up for our newsletter and follow us on social media for more information about all the great resources we offer and our upcoming events. So if you haven't done so already, if you could please take a second to add your contact information in the chat box. At the end of the event, we will clean that up and share that with all the attendees so that you can stay in touch with each other into the future. And if you have any questions throughout the program, you're welcome to add those in the chat box as well. We will make sure we have time for Q&A later at the end of the event. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our wonderful speaker for today's presentation. Jim Reese is the Director of Business Development at Offutt Kerman. They're a full-service law firm serving the legal needs of small and mid-sized privately held owner-managed businesses with 230 attorneys and 14 offices from Charlotte to New York City, with a heavy concentration in the Maryland, D.C., Northern Virginia region. Jim has access to a deep network of attorney advisors and problem solvers in over 35 practice areas, and he connects business owners to the right attorney who can solve their legal disputes and protect their assets. Jim is a master networker, and he prides himself on being able to make meaningful connections. Let Jim be your Google. Jim, I'm turning it over to you. Thanks for being
Well, thank you, Christy, and thank you, Kim, for being the behind-the-scenes expert here. Welcome, everybody. Looking forward to an entertaining, a productive, educational, interactive event this morning. Since the topic is virtual networking, I'm going to go through a couple of suggestions before I get started. One is that at this point, everyone should be in gallery view. At the top right-hand corner of your screen, there's a button that says View, and you can be in gallery view or speaker view. I would suggest that you're in gallery view now so you can see everyone. When I start my presentation and share my slides, go to speaker view so you'll see me and the slides. And you can move the, there's a little vertical line you can move back and forth to make, to change the size of the slides or the speaker view. I also suggest that people put their full name on their video thumbnail image, and I see most of you have done that. In case you're wondering, I have mine as Jim Reese, Offutt Kerman, parentheses, law firm. The reason I have that is because oftentimes when I'm in a virtual networking situation that includes more than just regional people, they don't know that Offutt Kerman is a law firm. So I include that in there in case you're wondering. It's great to join by video whenever possible because it allows you to be more interactive and people want to see what you look like. Obviously, sometimes that's not possible to be on live video, and if you're not, you may want to put a photo in your place so that just instead of saying your name, it would have at least your photo in there. A little more professional. We will keep everyone the mics muted off during the presentation. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat room. And we've got plenty of time after my presentation for Q&A. So the other thing that I like to suggest, because it's part of what I do, is feel free to take a screenshot, like right now maybe, and share it on social media. LinkedIn, it would be the preferable social media platform for something like this. Tag your friends that you see on the event today. Obviously, tag Central Maryland Chamber and Christy and Kim, and again, anybody else you see. So those are a couple of housekeeping tips. I'm now going to go to speaker view and share my screen, and we will get moving into the PowerPoint. So Again, the topic is how to master virtual networking. That's what we're talking about, and that's what we're doing right now. We are doing virtual networking. My goals are to have fun and not be bored, to learn some virtual networking tips, and to leave with a few key sound bites. And you'll see as I go through my slides, there are some sound bites that are highlighted in yellow. A little bit about me. I'm a grandfather of 4, and those of you who know me, follow me on Facebook or LinkedIn, you probably have seen me posting pictures of these little ones. They're fantastic. I get to see them at least once a week, if not more. These are my daughters in the middle, and this is me and my wife on the right-hand side. I did very nicely and married a woman 10 years younger than me. This is what I used to look like. So people make fun of my hat. I wear the hat, but I'm actually got no hair, as you can see right now. But I used to have a lot of hair. So in case you're wondering, I was not always bald. So what's my day job? As Director of Business Development at Offit Kerman, it's I have 3 different tasks. The first and obvious one is to recruit clients to the firm. The second one is to recruit attorneys to the firm. And these are generally partner level attorneys with books of business. And thirdly, to develop strategic partnerships like I have with many of you who are on the call today. So what's my why? I'm very passionate about making new connections and helping people and building relationships and providing value by making introductions for others. And as I'll touch on going forward in my presentation, introductions don't have to be necessarily professional. They could be personal as well. A typical introduction right now might be you're talking to someone and they say, "God, do you know a good snow removal person? We can't get out of our driveway." So that's an example of a personal type of introduction that can bring value to someone that you're trying to get close to and build a relationship. The bottom line is I, like many of you, I just care about people and I want to help people as much as I can. I'm not here to sell. I don't ever sell. I'm not a salesy person. If someone wants to buy from me, they know what I offer, and they'll come to me expecting that. So I don't believe that these virtual events are platforms for selling. They're really platforms for networking and connecting, which leads me to my next slide. This is a great soundbite. This is something that you definitely want to take away. I can't take credit for this. This is by John Maxwell. Networking is about knowing more people. That's a quantity issue. Connecting is about knowing people more. So that's quality. So we're just changing 2 words, knowing more people or knowing people more. So there is a natural progression where you network and then you connect. So just in case you're thinking, well, why do I need to network? It's pretty obvious. You're here, so you probably know the answer, but let me just go through a couple of those right now. When you network, you're able to meet mentors, partners, prospects. You're able to see your clients. You may have some clients on this webinar today, and it gets you front of mind with your clients or your prospects. You may meet someone today who can be a center of influence, a partner with you. It increases word of mouth recommendations. Many of you in this meeting get your business based on recommendations. Well, you need to network and meet more people and build connections to get more of those word of mouth recommendations. Discover new ideas and innovations. So if you're on a webinar and there's an educational piece to it and it's interactive and people are talking, no doubt you're going to walk away with some new ideas and innovations. Also, it improves your communication skills. So take these virtual networking events and use them to improve your elevator pitch and questions that you ask and the way that you promote yourself. Obviously, staying on top of latest trends in the industry. Back in the pre-pandemic world, many of us went to industry trade events and conferences and lots of networking events related to those. That allows you to stay on top of trends in your industry. And as I say, the list goes on and on. So welcome to the world of virtual networking. As I mentioned before, this platform provides opportunities to build relationships, to network, and then to connect. Much of what we used to do have now been replaced by new technology like Zoom meetings and just good old-fashioned phone calls. You know, how many of you are now calling people because it's a surprise when you call people? They're not expecting phone calls, and it's a good surprise. Sending cards out is another good surprise. People don't get regular mail, snail mail today. So we've got new technologies and old technologies that we're using right now in this virtual world. You know, many people are still complaining that, you know, they don't get to get in front of people face to face, no handshaking, no hugging. We all know that, but like I say, you gotta play the cards that we've been dealt. And remember, really important, another soundbite, this is a marathon, not a sprint. I don't know about you all, but I can tell you that sales cycle for selling legal services is somewhere between 18 and 24 months. So you have to be really tolerant and patient, but persistent at the same time. All right, we're gonna go to our first poll. I believe Kim is going to throw the poll out there. This is what it's going to look like. Kim?
Working on it. We're having
All
some
right.
technical difficulties.
All right. No difficulties at all. So how often have you been networking virtually? Daily, a few times a week, a few times a month? Wait till we have about 75%, only waiting on a few. Very, very good. Good participation here, 20 out of 23. So we are done. So here's the results. A few times a month, 55%. A few times a week, 20%. Daily, 25%. Very interesting. So at least twice as many a few times a month. That pretty much is in line with other groups that I do this with, and we don't see this changing much. So, oops. All right, thank you for participating. All right, next slide is take a look at some of my virtual networking strategies. The little pyramid on the right-hand side that shows 90% lurkers. Lurkers are people, probably like people that you know, who go on social media. Let's talk about LinkedIn because that's the primary social media platform that we're all using. A lurker is someone who's on LinkedIn and just scrolls through their thread and doesn't like anything and doesn't comment on anything and doesn't share and doesn't participate in the conversations. Those are known as lurkers. 9% of most groups of people are intermittent contributors, and then 1% are heavy contributors. So here's another soundbite that I like. Don't social distance from social media. Get active on LinkedIn and social media. For most of us, if we're doing B2B business, LinkedIn is probably the best platform. If you're B2C, you might be using Facebook also, and maybe some other platforms. But don't social distance, get involved. Meet people on social media, and then take your conversation off of social media in the form of a phone call or a video chat or text, and get to know them better. Because people do business with people they know, like, and trust. You can build the familiarity and the likability on social media. The trust part is the key, and that's where we go from networking to connecting. When you're really cultivating these relationships is where you can build trust. So I would say that building the trust is definitely key. Remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. The trust will be built over some time, but get yourself out there, get on social media on somewhat of a regular basis, and be a contributor. Here's a few of my LinkedIn tips, as long as we're talking about LinkedIn. So you want to build your network by connecting with the people that specifically are the people that you want to meet, whether they are the types of people in an industry that you service, or if you're looking to build relationships with centers of influence and referral sources. You definitely want to think about who is it that you want to get in front of. There's you want to look at the geography, if there are people in a specific region that you want to be meeting. So build your network by connecting with those kinds of people. Be specific. Post relevant content that your network would expect you to post. So if I'm in the legal business and in the business development business, so what I post is really relevant to my network. It's not anything that they would not expect me to share. So it's articles about networking and about connecting. It's articles, a 30,000 foot view on some legal issues, nothing really technical, because I'm not an attorney and people would not expect me to post something that's of highly technical nature. I'm not in the insurance business. I'm not in the accounting business, so I wouldn't be posting on those types of topics. Be consistent, like and comment and share. So be active and be consistent. For those of you who are not yet fully engaged on LinkedIn, I would suggest you start with a couple days a week for 15 or 20 minutes, but maybe at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday and 10 o'clock on Thursday, and just be consistent. Make sure the content is relevant. Do not try to sell on LinkedIn. I'm sure that everyone on this webinar is just like me, and you get friend requests, and then you get a long explanation about what someone does and what they're trying to sell you. I always feel like, why would I buy from somebody I don't know and like yet, let alone trust? So don't try to sell, right out of the gates, because you'll make them run for the hills. At least if you do it to me, I'm not interested, and I will respond to people, and I will say in a very nice and respectful way, I don't know you or anything about you or your company. Why are you trying to sell me already? So be careful. You build that relationship first. We're attending a virtual event now, and here's a couple of pointers for everyone. Great to arrive early, meet the host, meet the presenter, talk to Christy if you haven't seen her in a while, and Kim, and maybe chat with me, chat with the presenter before the event gets started. Know who the audience is, so have an idea of who's going to attend these events, so that you can sort of polish up your elevator pitch if you have a chance to introduce yourself. Here's another cool soundbite that I took from someone who is in marketing. There's riches in the niches. So it seems like people are having big success because they have niche businesses. So there are riches in the niches. So be specific and tailor your introductions. As I mentioned before, don't be a lurker. Try to be an active participant and provide meaningful commentary and content. Connect with attendees on LinkedIn with a personal message. I never send just a connection request without a personal message. And I generally will say, hey, it was great to meet you on the CMC event on virtual networking. I'd love to connect with you or be a part of your professional network. Thank you very much, or something like that. And then after you make that connection, have a phone call or a video chat with them and get to know them better. focus on learning about them, not what you do. Just like when we used to have in-person events, and they will be back soon. You got to go into these events, virtual or in person, with a specific mindset. You want to be focused on what you can do for everyone else, not what they can do for you. So be interested, not interesting. Another great soundbite. If you're interested, you're asking a lot of questions. You're curious. If you're interesting, like someone on a phone call I had yesterday, I had a 30-minute phone call, and they were interesting for about 25 minutes, which means they talked about themselves for 25 minutes and gave me 5 minutes to mention what I did. So ask questions, be curious, be interested, don't do all the talking. And then when they say to you, hey, Joe, tell me what you do, then you have their permission to tell them what you do, and be ready with your elevator pitch. And again, if you have an idea of who's going to be attending these events, if it's an event with manufacturing businesses, then make sure that you have your elevator pitch really tailored to that audience. Remember to follow up, follow up, follow up. That's where most of us fall. That's where most of us fail. And if you do all this work and you don't follow up, you've really just wasted an awful lot of your time. Here's something that has helped me tremendously. I would say back in March, when it was obvious that we were going to be working remotely for a while, I did two things. Number one, I think we all had a choice at that time to complain about what we were about to deal with, or to lift ourselves up and figure out a way to leverage this pandemic and find opportunity in what is a horrible situation, a crisis situation. And what I did was I doubled down on my marketing and decided that I would go full speed ahead on my marketing on LinkedIn and doing events. And here's the key, as far as I'm concerned, to events. Many of us attend virtual events like this one. And if you walk away and say to yourself, well, I really didn't meet enough people that I want to meet, then I would suggest you think about hosting your own event. And I've got 2 of them that I host, at least, maybe more. And if you host your own event, you get to invite the people that you want to be around. You get to invite your clients, your prospects, your referral sources, your centers of influence. It's a great, great opportunity for you to be in front of them. So be targeted and focus on these people. Invite the people that you want to meet. And for me, this has definitely been a game changer. It gets me in front of the people that I want to see several times a month, and it keeps me top of mind. And nothing is better than being top of mind. Decide on creative, interactive formats. So, we've got great technology today. We can use surveys like we're using today. There are breakout rooms that you've all experienced, Q&A sessions that we've got today, chat rooms, all kinds of good technology that you can use to be creative. Collaborate with strategic partners. So you don't have to do this alone. I'm partnering with the Chamber today, which is great. And I get to meet the Chamber's members, many of their members and guests, by doing this event. And remember, follow up, otherwise you're wasting your time. We're now ready for the next survey, Ms. Kim, and this is a fun one. Always get a mixed bag of reactions to this one. So how do you prefer to dress for your virtual networking meetings? Professional attire, business on top, casual on the bottom, whatever way you want to define that. No makeup, no problem. And I know I should have added one for my buddy Chris, who's on the meeting here, and say something about the shoes. Chris always has that orange or green pairs of shoes. I know he's wearing them today. He's got to have them on, probably orange, that's my guess. So yeah, how do you, and not surprising, it looks like over 60% of you have responded business on the top, casual on the bottom. I will I'll be honest, I got my sweatpants on and I got my nice dress shirt and my sport coat on. So it looks like most of you are there right with me. Okay, Kim, thank you for running that poll. Okay, next survey. What types of virtual networking events give you value? What types of virtual networking events give you value? Educational events, social event, or the combination? Educational, social, or the combination. And this usually leans very heavily on the combination. That's what people seem to like, and this group is no different. Okay, so another thing that I've focused on is I have a lot of meetings during the day, maybe anywhere from 6 to 8 meetings during the day. I try to keep them brief. I think one of the positives that has come out of this awful pandemic is obviously we're not commuting anymore. We're not in the car. And I think we can get a lot done in 30 minutes. A 30-minute phone call or a 30-minute Zoom call can be plenty of time to get to know someone, talk about personal stuff, get into professional stuff, see if there's some synergies, any opportunities worth exploring to do business together, to help each other. If 30 minutes is not enough, you can always go back and schedule more. I found that 30 minutes is generally plenty of time. If I have a prospect who wants to meet with an attorney to have an initial consultation, I do schedule that for 60 minutes generally, and we use anywhere from 35 to 45 to 60 minutes on those. But if you're meeting someone for the first time, I think 30 minutes is plenty, and that way you can get more into your day. You can have 4 or 6 meetings a day if you do 30-minute phone calls or Zoom calls. I mentioned this before. This is really key. You need to offer your value to people. So and that's part of being a really good listener. Listen to what people are telling you. Ask questions that will set up the kinds of answers that you're looking for. You don't have to use the old phrase, what's keeping you up at night, but we certainly have an opportunity to ask better questions than we used to do in the in-person meetings, like, oh, how's the weather? How is traffic getting here? And things like that. I think we can be a little more creative and ask some really thought-provoking questions. I like to ask people, what are they most proud of in their business? How have they done during the pandemic? What do the next 6 months look like for them in their business? Are they having problems with staffing, with recruiting and retaining talent? Because I know that's probably on one of the top 3 concerns that business owners have. What does your workforce look like? What was it pre-pandemic and what is it now? Lots of good questions like that can result in really good conversation, good responses, and can lead you to the next question. Now is a great time to nurture your existing relationships because I like to say there's gold in them hills. So people that you haven't spoken to in a couple of years, those where you already have an existing relationship, they would love to hear from you. People are, they're picking up the phone, they're answering emails, at least that's what I'm finding. They're happy to talk about how they're getting through the pandemic, both on a personal level and on a business level. And I do believe that people will take your call or schedule a call with you. And it's a great opportunity to reconnect. And as I say, quick and thoughtful follow-up could mean landing a new client or a new referral partner. And that's really what we're after. A couple of more virtual networking strategies. So remember, we are all in the same storm. Most people say we're all in the same boat. I think we're in different boats, but the same storm. Oh, somebody's doing a nice doodle. I wish I could learn how to do that. You have to teach, Nikki, you'll have to teach me how to do that after this. It is a level playing field. So we're all, we're all dealing with the same stuff. I think early on during the pandemic, nothing really was off limits. Many of us talked to, when we connected with relationships, we talked about what was happening at home. Did we have college kids who came back, and now our home went from 2 people back to 4? What's going on? Did we have parents moving in or what have you? So it was definitely good opportunity to talk about and share stories about the quarantine, connect on a very personal level. There's a couple of things I like to say about this. We be human, because we all are craving compassion and vulnerability. It's okay to be vulnerable and talk about things that maybe prior to this we weren't comfortable talking about. It's important to be memorable and authentic, be yourself. It's very important to be empathetic. That's one thing that we've all learned from this. Be a good listener, as I've said several times. It's important to be that listener, to ask curious questions, and have an open mind, and don't judge people. I think for me, at least, politics is off base, because I don't want to have that conversation. It can get very personal, and people can get a little bit excited about it. And I think for me, at least, that's been off limits. So a lot of people are talking about, well, is this virtual networking stuff going to stick? Are we going to be back to in person? I don't know. I don't think anyone has the exact answer. My guess is that most of you, if asked that question, would think that there'd be some kind of a hybrid situation where we'll get back to some great in-person events like the Chamber, the Central Maryland Chamber has had in the past. I'm sure they can't wait to get those back on the calendar again. But I think some of these virtual events that are well attended and have great value will definitely stick. And so why? Well, the virtual events have really been improving, and with the technology, there's more we can do with them, with breakout rooms and sharing PowerPoints and doing the polling and things like that. Lots of things we can do with them. They're certainly more convenient. They eliminate commute time. It has, in my opinion, shortened the sales process, because there's not a lot of time for BS. Getting back to my suggestion on the 30-minute phone call or Zoom call, I usually spend the first 10 minutes talking about personal stuff, and then we get down to business, and you do get down to business pretty quickly. And then I think, many of us are now comfortable with virtual networking. So it's not new to us. We know what to expect. We have our last poll now, Kim, and this is a follow-up to that last slide. Will you continue with virtual networking events? Yes, no, or not sure. Will you continue with virtual networking events? Yes, no, not sure. Leaning heavily towards the yes, we have 0 no's and a few not sures. And I think all of you would pretty much agree that it will be a hybrid type of situation where there will be some wonderful, wonderful in-person events, and there will continue to be some wonderful virtual events. So I think it'll be an efficient way for us to network and connect. Finally, in case you're wondering what I do when I network, and when I make connections, I look for introductions to 3 different types of people based on my role. The first and most obvious are business owners who eventually need lawyers. Secondly, are attorneys who are partner level attorneys with a large book of business. Leave it to the lawyers to have no non-competes. So a lawyer can leave their firm and go to another firm and take their clients with them if the clients so choose. So I am responsible for recruiting in this region and would be happy to meet anyone who's miserable where they are and is looking for a better place to practice law. And then finally, centers of influence, referral sources, evangelists, strategic partners, call them what you will. Everyone's got a different name for them, but those are the kinds of people that I'm meeting. People that I don't already know who fall into these categories are great introductions for me. And then finally, thank you for your time, and please connect with me offline and let me know how I can help you. Here's my contact information. It's also in the chat room. Most of you know how to get in touch with me anyhow. It's all on, I'm on LinkedIn and my contact information is there. So happy to help any of you with any issues that you might have, whether it's legal related or anything else. As I say in my short bio, let me be your Google. So let's go back to gallery view. And Kim, let's see if we've got some good questions from the gallery. And you can unmute if you'd like. And if you have a question, jump out there, raise your hand and just jump in. That's fine too. We want to make this interactive.
I don't have a question. I have a comment about these virtual meetings and all that, which is, you know, that's here to stay for a long time, I think. But through my real job, you know, an engineering firm, being a national and global company, it's interesting to see that we were already doing that, like a few years before the pandemic. Because of the interaction that we had to do with other offices in other countries and all that. So it's interesting to see that 50,000 employees were able to work through the pandemic without interruption, which was great for us. You know, we were very fortunate, and that's the new normal now, right? I mean, I think you probably found that there was more participation meeting through virtually than when you did it in person in certain events. So that was just the comment I wanted to contribute.
Thank you, Marco. Any other questions or comments about your own preferences for virtual networking, or any of the material that I went over?
Jim, I have a comment. I agree with both what you and what Marco just said. I mean, I personally was doing a lot more in-person stuff pre-COVID than virtual, but I had, you know, maybe one virtual meeting a month pre-COVID. And I believe what COVID has done, it's forced the general public, or just, you know, just about everyone, to adapt to a virtual world. And what I have certainly noticed over the last year is I have the capacity now to have more meetings throughout the week. And those meetings I find are much more productive. And I think the reason why is, who wants to just sit here and chit chat, you know, staring at a computer? I think most of us just want to sort of get down to business, so to speak. I certainly miss the social interaction and meeting with people, but I have found that I have been, I would say, much more productive, and I've had much more activity, at least over the last 6 to 8 months.
So I'll put that into much fewer words. You just echoed, you know, the way I feel also, and here's how I describe it. I would assume for all of us on this call, one of your goals is to be front of mind with the audience that you need to be in front of. And I think what the virtual events allows us to do is to be front of mind, because you know, okay, you've got, let's say 30 people, 24 people on this call here. So Mike is now front of mind with 24 people within an hour. And you do that multiple times a day, and I do that multiple times a day. So you're touching people and remaining front of mind in a very efficient way, time-wise. So I think that's what you're saying. I completely agree. By the way, if you have a comment to share or a question, would you mind introducing yourself and your company before you speak, so we know who you are and what you do? How about you, Chris Barber? I know you got something to say.
You know, so much of what you said, Jim, it's just being a genuine person. You know what I mean? That's how connections are made. And that's why I've always respected the way you do things, because nobody wants to talk to somebody that's like, hey, give me some money. You know what I mean? It just doesn't work. You know, and I'm always surprised when I see a person or three at a networking event where that's what they're doing. You know, it's because it's not the right way to do it.
About what I don't miss about the in-person events is people shoving business cards in everyone's face, before they even introduce themselves. There are people walking around with business cards like it's a deck of cards that they're dealing out, right?
Yeah.
Not a good practice.
That's the wrong way to build relationships, right? I mean, it's all about relationship building. And the other stuff comes later. You can't just shove stuff in people's face. It's off-putting, right?
Right. So the virtual rendition of that person that stuffs the business card in your face is the people on LinkedIn that you connect with, and then you get like paragraphs of information about them and what they want to sell you. It's the same thing. And I say to myself, well, I don't know you. I don't know your company. Why would I even want to read this? Make a connection first.
Exactly.
So it's the same thing, and some of those maybe are automated messages. I'm not really sure because I'm not the techie guy, but I'm sure some of those could be automated messages that third parties are doing on their behalf. I think they're doing them a disservice, in my opinion.
Yeah. That's true.
Anything else?
I mean, I
name
would
is
just say
Wait, Adrian, you're trying to talk, but you're muted, which means we couldn't hear you. Adrian,
Can you
tell
hear
us-
me now?
Yeah. So
Okay.
tell us what you do at BWI.
Sure. I do corporate and community relations for both BWI, Marshall Airport, and Martin State Airport.
Uh-huh.
And you made a great point about the conversation math. Like, don't hog the conversation. I mean, that's what I call it, conversation math. If there's 4 people in the conversation, don't talk more than 25% of the time.
Great point.
And don't talk about politics. Are there any other don'ts that you are seeing in virtual networking that you can help us out with?
I mean, I think the obvious topics that we all would probably stay away from because they're not politically correct. But there's plenty of do's and a very short list of don'ts, in my opinion. And as I said before, everybody wants to talk about their own personal strife during the pandemic. And I had a stepdaughter and her boyfriend living with us for 14 weeks. That was completely unexpected and not so great at times. But I shared that story with a lot of people. So at the time, that's what was on my mind, and people were responsive and empathetic, and they had their own stories. Yeah, my kid's home from college. It drive me crazy, up all night. He wants his friends to come over. Everyone's got stories like that, and I think that's completely legit to talk about because it's a great way to connect with people.
Good advice. Thank you.
Jim,
this is
Sherman
Edwin.
Coleman, how are you?
Okay, Sherman.
Good. This is my second time hearing you. I heard you with the Hispanic Chamber give this presentation. I just want to let you know what a great job you did, as always. A question I have for you, we've been doing Zoom for almost a little over almost a year, and people are more comfortable with it now than they were when they first started. Do you think that people are more productive on Zoom calls now than they were maybe 6 months ago?
Yeah, because I think there's a learning curve, just like with anything else. So you know, people are definitely more comfortable with the technology, with the chat room, with breakout rooms, sharing your screens, the polls, you know, just little things like listing your name properly on your video, or having the right background. It's taken some of us, you know, a bit of time to get the background right, if we want a background, or get the lighting right. I was on with someone yesterday. It was a pretty big virtual event. It was an educational event with a large organization from DC, and I was shocked. The president of the organization had a big bright window right behind him. Now, we've all read a million times, you know, light should come from the front of you. And this guy, there were probably a couple hundred people on this webinar, and here's this guy with a big bright window behind you, could barely see him. So there's plenty of information out there, Sherman, and you know, it's in front of you all the time. You can't miss it if you're on LinkedIn reading these kinds of you know, of tips on how to get your video right, or your audio right, or cameras, lights, whatever it might be. To answer your question, I think we're all much more comfortable now.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Jim.
Sure.
Yeah.
Edwin, did you have a question?
Yes, my question is, I like the way you introduce yourself with family portrait. How do you get personal with family pics without being too personal?
I don't know. I guess it's your own preference. Most of my network know about my kids because I do post pictures of them and the grandkids. And you know, I think there's you know, there's the right amount that you can post about your kids without being sort of awkward. But that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's information that I'm happy to share. People should know about my personal life. Family is very important, and I'm fine with people knowing about that and sharing that stuff. I think it's completely on limits, not off limits, to share some of that. I think too much is too much, but and I try to be careful of that, but I want people to know about my family. So the, you know, first couple minutes of a phone call or a Zoom call could be just talking about your family.
Thanks.
Good question.
Thank you.
Anything else? Yeah.
Hold on, let me unmute myself. My name is Asrojan Shukur, if I go by John. Janitorial services as well as home improvement. Thanks for respecting our time and getting right into the meat today. I quite frankly am stopping by as a guest and checking out the chamber, and I'm pleasantly surprised how everybody's interacting. And your presentation was just the closest event I could have attended to pick out the meeting. So I wasn't like, oh, it's a networking. I kind of know about that, right? And then you start talking and giving us the meat, and I start making the notes, and there's like so many notes that I made. I really love the humanizing, like where you were literally like putting a human touch in your introduction with pictures. Edwin, this is, and then you went to your why to show us why you're doing this. And then you went to the core and then concluding. So everything was awesome. I really loved. I took a bunch of notes for myself. And then Adrienne, I believe you asked the question, besides the politics, what you don't talk, there's another thing that I don't touch that I've learned years ago. There are two topics I don't talk. One is the politics and the other one is religion. So I just stay away from them, just go around the business and or knowing the people. So thanks everyone. Great meeting, great chamber.
John, thank you for your comments, and thank you for allowing us to call you John. And next time I see you, I want to see the notes that you just transcribed on that notebook. I want to see them as Post-it notes on that wall behind you. You would wallpaper your wall with all the Post-it notes. Thanks for your comments. That was very kind. And by the way, a little plug for the Central Maryland Chamber. They are the best. So you're in the right place.
And
Bambi dancing.
Jim, will the presentation be available on the Chamber's website?
It's up to Christy. I mean, I'm happy to share it. We'll let Christy respond to that. She's the head honcho here.
I'm sorry, what was the question again? I couldn't hear you.
I was asking if this is a very rich material, and I was asking if it will be available on the Chamber's website.
Yes, yeah. So we are recording this event and we will put it up on our website, which is centralmarylandchamber.org. That is where we've been recording all of our webinars, and we've added them up there. So you can click on any you may have missed that are topics that you're interested in. We've had some about PPP loans, how to safely reopen your business, a lot of things that are COVID related, but also some great presentations on mental health and how to get through this pandemic in a healthy way, and some really great presentations from a lot of our member speakers. So I encourage you to go there. It's under the member tab. You can see all of our past webinars and click on those. It's totally free. You can share them with your friends.
Thank you.
Sure.
You know, you just mentioned mental health, and that's an area that's, you know, front and center, I think, for all of us, you know, whether we want to admit it or not. But part of showing our vulnerability would be talking to people openly about their mental health. Especially, you know, I'm having these conversations every day, and most people say the same thing, like, and during the better weather, I got out every day and I walked a couple of times, and that was good for my mental health. And now you've got cold weather, you've got snow, and you've got shorter days and a lot of darkness, and that can't be a good thing. So I'm not a mental health expert, but I know from what I've read that the mental health experts and doctors are just busy as can be. And that's only for the people who recognize that they have issues. So I think that's fair game to talk to people about. It just shows that you care when you ask a question like that. So I think it can be presented in a respectful way, but I think that topic is certainly something that we can all be talking about. It's not something to be embarrassed about. We're all dealing with the same stuff. Like I said, we're all in the same storm, maybe a different boat. I'm in a boat or a house where, you know, there's 3 of us. Some of you may be in a boat where there's 6 people. You went from a family of 2 or 3 to a family of 6 because of people who have come home. So same storm, different boats. But all, in my opinion, all that type of conversation is completely legit. Christy, if no one has any other questions, I guess that's it.
Okay.
Sure did have fun today. Oh,
No
Mike, what?
questions here, but Jim, I do want to thank you for this great presentation, your insight. It's always so valuable. And Jim, you've done so much to help me out both personally and professionally. So just want to thank you. And I do want to thank Christy and Kim at the Chamber for getting this organized. John, I can echo what Jim said. This is the best chamber around. So hope to see you in the near future.
Thank you, Mike. And thanks so much, Jim. This has been a great presentation. And I also want to thank all of our guests for joining us. We do hope you'll tune in for our future webinars. As I mentioned, our website is centralmarylandchamber.org. And there you can find the past presentations that I went over. You can also find our schedule of upcoming events. So next week, we are having a virtual networking event. So you'll be able to practice all the great tips you learned from Jim today. The following week on February 17th, we'll host our next webinar, which is on SEO and how to market your business on social media. So that'll be a great presentation. And it's completely free if you'd like to join us. And on February 25th, we'll be hosting our Membership 101 session, which is a great presentation to go over many of the benefits of joining the Chamber. And on the same day, we will also have our Future of Fort Meade event with our special guest, Fort Meade Garrison Commander Colonel Christopher Nyland. That will be at 10 a.m. also. And if you haven't yet joined the Chamber, we'd love to have you as a new member. We are growing this year, and we have plans for a great year full of wonderful events, and we'd love to have you on the team. So connect with our staff following the event, and we will get you more information. Later today, we'll share a link to the video and the attendee contact information as well, so you can stay in touch with each other following the event. So thank you again so much to Jim Rees from Offutt Kerman for a great presentation, and we hope to see you at another event real soon. Have a great day.
Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
Jim.
Thank you, Chamber.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.